usuals. I'm glad we're all back here. I think it's the first time everyone has been back. We've been different people missing out different weeks. So good to see everybody. I will mute you all as usual. Everyone is, I think everyone was already muted, but you're extra muted now. And let me just change my screen around. All right, I know I say this all the time and you guys know the drill by now, but if you ever do have questions after class or before class, please don't hesitate to ask them. As I was like getting ready today for class, I was thinking of things to do and I'm like, I do a lot of the same things and I don't know if people enjoy them or if they're not sure how to do them or don't enjoy them. So always tell me because, you know, I can't see you. So don't ever hesitate to tell me what you're thinking. But on that note, go ahead and start to settle in. If you have not already, start to close your eyes. Start to slow down the breathing. Pay attention to the breathing. That's the first step. Paying attention to it allows us to start to take those deeper, longer, fuller breaths. And just use this time to start to turn inward. So what I mean by that is paying attention to what's going on right here in your own body, right here on your mat, your little rectangular universe right now. What's going on physically, how you're feeling, if something doesn't feel comfortable, if you do feel good, great. If you don't, maybe you make an adjustment as you're lying here. And then also start to take inventory or become aware of where you are mentally today. We all come to our mats from different places and for different reasons. If you're feeling stressed or anxious or tired or sad, these are all things that happen and yoga is great for all of them. Or maybe you're just feeling good today and you want to keep feeling good, so you want to do some yoga. That's great as well. So before we start to move, we're going to start to think about an intention for your practice. And maybe as you were doing that little inventory, you started to think of that intention. So maybe you noticed you need to slow down, or you need to breathe a little deeper, or you need to relax or let go. Maybe those are your intentions. Maybe not. Some people like to set the same exact intention every single week. If that's you, maybe you already know what yours is. If not, go ahead and think about it now. I always talk at the beginning of class for a couple minutes. Really is a chance to give you that time to kind of stay there in stillness for a couple moments and breathe and settle in. So there's a reason for that. Now that you've had those few moments, we're all going to start to find a full body stretch. So when you're ready, the arms are going to start to reach up overhead. Your legs are going to extend long. Going to start by stretching the whole body, the arms, the legs, the core, the center. Maybe a little side-to-side movement, a little rolling of the wrists or the ankles, whatever feels comfortable, big stretch. And then on the next breath, the knees start to draw in towards you. The arms wrap around your legs as you give yourself a little hug. And movement is always an option here. So rocking side to side is usually what I start with. Rolling the knees or circling the knees is another option. And then stillness is also an option. Maybe you just hug those knees in, continue to breathe, continue to focus on that stillness and that quiet for another moment. And then from here, we're all going to start to make our way into a seated position. So I always suggest rolling up to that seat. If you want to bring your hands behind your thighs and kind of rock along your spine, you can do that. If you don't enjoy doing that, you can find a seat however you like to. There are lots of ways of getting there. So once you are in that seated position, crossing the legs, let the hands rest in the lap or on your knees and just begin to sit up nice and tall. Your eyes can even still be closed right now if that feels comfortable. As you sort of ground down through the spine and the tailbone, maybe you rock from side to side a little bit, relaxing the shoulders. Head lifts up a little bit. And then we're just going to circle the upper body, bringing the chest forward and all the way around. Starting to make some circles. Pausing anywhere that you like to pause, maybe a little twist. Sometimes it feels good to kind of look over one shoulder and then look over the other shoulder. Sort of using the hands pressing into the knees to almost create a little bit of a twist. you're making those circles, make sure you go back in the opposite direction. So you take a couple circles on each side. And then eventually, once you're feeling even, you'll start to come back through center, bringing the soles of the feet together as you set up for a butterfly pose. Soles of the feet together, hands under the toes, breathing in as you lengthen and lift up. And then on the exhale, the upper body starts to fold forward. Nice long spine, and then the chest starts to reach towards the toes. You can press the elbows into the shins. So you're using the elbows in your shins a little bit to kind of press the legs down just a little bit to create a little bit of a deeper stretch. I said little a lot, but I want to stress little because you're not pushing down on the legs as hard as you can. You're not forcing them towards the earth. You're just using that weight of your elbows to just give it a little extra. And then fully lifting it all the way back up, we'll extend that right leg long, left foot comes into the right inner thigh. That right foot is flexed, so that foot is engaged. You can kind of shift so that you're facing the leg, and then on the inhale, the arms lift up. Exhale, folds you forward. This is the first time we're really getting into the legs. Sometimes we do this on our backs. We didn't really do much on our backs, so your leg is starting to wake up now. Notice how it feels. Maybe that knee needs to bend a little more than usual. Maybe your hands are starting to work out the muscles, or even just some movement of the foot can kind of help get into the back of that leg a little bit. And then as you lift up, we're going to find one more twist. That left foot is coming to the outside of the right knee. Left hand comes to the side of the body, and on the inhale, the right arm lifts up. On the exhale, we're twisting to the left, hooking that right elbow on the outside of the left knee. Take a breath in, sit up a little taller. And 2 more breaths. And then we're going to slowly unravel it, coming over to the right side. So coming in the opposite direction for just a breath. And then all the way back through center, extending that left foot, and then the right foot is going to come into the left inner thigh. So same thing as you did before, really flexing that left foot, engaging the left foot, and then the arms lift up overhead as you inhale. As you exhale, you'll fold forward, bending that knee, massaging the back of the leg, maybe, I don't know, rocking side to side, moving, whatever starts to feel good, whatever helps get into that muscle. I was teaching another class and I was explaining that everything I do is a suggestion, and it's really about what feels good for you. You just don't want to do anything that's going to cause injury. So as long as you're not doing any harm, if something feels good and I'm not suggesting it, do that. On the next breath, we'll slowly start to lift up. The right foot will come to the outside of the left knee. The right hand is at the side of the body. And as you inhale, that left arm lifts up. As you exhale, we're twisting to the right. That left elbow is pressing into the right knee. As you inhale, you're sitting up a little taller. As you exhale, you're twisting. Couple more breaths here. Think about that spine lengthening and twisting all at the same time. And then going back in the opposite direction, right elbow to right knee, unravel that spine, bring it out. And again, back through center. We'll start to make our way into a tabletop position. So go ahead and come onto your hands and your knees. So when you set up here, the wrists are below the shoulders to start. The knees are under the hips to start. The spine is straight and flat. And then you'll start to move through those cat and cows. So on the inhale, the stomach goes down, the gaze goes up. As you exhale, the background, press the ground beneath your knees. And just start to flow there, moving with your breath. Taking a couple rounds, always having the option to add on a little hip rock, a little head movement, a little, sometimes it feels good to press back into a child's pose, or even a little Cobra, or kind of press the hips down. So just start to warm up that spine, moving the spine in whatever way feels good for you. And then as you complete the round that you're on, we'll come back through center, finding a nice flat back. Extend the right leg, keep the toes tucked first, so that we can do that little foot stretch. So you can start to press yourself forwards and backwards, stretching through the bottom of your foot. And then pausing here, that right leg is going to lift up off the ground. It's almost like there's a wall behind you and you're trying to step on it. You're pressing that right heel behind you. Take a breath in, draw the right knee towards your nose, around the back. Exhale, extend it long. 2 more just like that. Inhale, knee to nose, around the back. Exhale, extend it long. Last time, draw that knee in. Exhale, extend it long. And then we're going to find a modified side plank. So the left foot slides off the mat, kind of almost like it's just creating a little kickstand for you, a little extra support. And then the inner arch of the right foot comes down. The right fingertips start to reach towards the top of your mat. So think about bringing the right shoulder towards your ear almost. One long line on the right side of the body. From here, we're going to start to circle that right elbow, or the right shoulder, sorry. You can move at the elbow too if that feels good, but make some giant circles with that right arm. Couple in one direction, and then a couple in the other. And then we're going to slowly start to come back to that tabletop position by bringing the right hand down to the mat, the right knee down to the mat. You can kind of readjust your knees a little bit and then start to extend that left leg long, keeping the toes tucked as you start to press yourself forwards and backwards, stretching out through the bottom of that left foot. On the next breath, that left leg will lift, flexing through the toes. Start to draw the left knee to the nose, rounding the back. Exhale, extend it long. 2 more with your breath. Inhale, draw it forward. Exhale, extend it long. Inhale, knee to nose. Exhale, extend. And then right foot slides off the mat, creating that little kickstand. Inner arch of the left foot comes down, and the left fingertips start to reach forward. So one more time, getting that nice long line on the left side of the body. Feel that space under the ribs, under the arm. You can roll the left shoulder back a little bit more, almost like you're looking up towards the sky. So not looking down at that mat, but lifting. And then we'll start to close it back off. Left hand comes to the mat, left knee comes to the mat as we begin to make our way into our first downward facing dog. So your toes are going to tuck, your legs are going to start to straighten, the hips press up and down. And you'll just start to move here a little bit, settling in, lifting up your heels and then pressing them back down, rocking the hips from side to side, moving the head a little bit. So the heels are always working their way towards the mat. I think depending on how people's bodies are built, some people find it really easy. Their heels are just naturally on the ground. That might be you. Other people, I'm one of them, feels like no matter what I do, my heels will never touch. And that's okay. But just think about pressing them down because that's the direction they're working in. From here, we're going to start to roll forward into a plank position. Shoulders are coming over the wrist. The tailbone tucks under. Maybe you readjust a little bit to your alignment. Engaging that core. And then the knees lower down. And then slowly hugging the elbows in towards the body. You're going to roll or lower yourself all the way down. Not really roll. Just lower yourself onto your stomach. Hands are under the shoulders. And then on the next inhale, you're going to start to lift up through the upper body. The little baby cobra here. The hands are lifting off the mat. You're lifting up just an inch or two. And then fully placing your hands on the mat, press it back to a child's pose. So the hips are lifting up and back. The toes are coming together and the hips are resting on the heels. Your fingertips can continue to reach towards the top of the mat. Maybe rock from side to side a little bit. Maybe any kind of movement is feeling good. Otherwise, you can start to find some stillness just for a breath. We're not going to be here super long. And then from here, we'll slowly begin to make our way back into a downward facing dog. So hips are lifting, toes are tucking as you press up and back, lengthening through the legs. Again. We're going to take that whole little cycle one more time. So rolling it out into your plank, shoulders come over the wrist, tailbone tucks under, the core is engaged, nice and strong here. And then gently bringing your knees down, slow and controlled, you'll lower the rest of the body down. And now you have the option, either same baby cobra we did before, or press your hands into the mat and lift it up a little bit higher. Ask your spine what it wants, and then do that. You want to always be gentle to the spine. And then again, we're going to find a child's pose for just a breath. So hands press into the mat, hips go up and back as you settle into that child's pose. 2 or 3 breaths here. And then as you prepare to make your way back to your downward facing dog, the hips lift up, the toes tuck, the legs straighten, and you're back in your downward facing dog. This time we're going to look towards our hands and then start to walk your feet towards your hands, coming to a forward fold at the top of your mat. So traditionally, your feet are together for a forward fold. If you're in a very, very traditional yoga class, they would say big toes together. I prefer having my feet about hip width distance apart. I think it feels more comfortable for me. You can decide for yourself. So either feet together, gonna get a little deeper stretch, or give yourself a couple of fists width distance in between your feet. Either way is fine. Same with a little bend in your knees if it feels comfortable to bend those knees a little bit, maybe moving a little bit here. Go ahead and just let the upper body become heavy. And then one vertebrae at a time, we're going to start to roll it all the way up. So gently making your way all the way to standing, reaching the arms overhead, little back bend as the hands come to heart center. Good. We're going to bring our hands to the sides of the body now. Just kind of shake it out, readjust a little bit. And we're going to move the shoulders. We haven't really done much with the shoulders yet. So on the next inhale, we're going to roll the shoulders up and forward towards the ears. And exhale, release them down your back. 2 more times, just like that. Inhale, draw the shoulders up. Exhale, release them back. 1 more time. Inhale, up. Exhale, down and back. And then going in the opposite direction. Inhale as you lift them up the back. Exhale, roll them forward. Couple more, just like that. And then on the last one, go ahead and let the shoulders release all the way down and back, and pressing them down so you can create that length in your upper body. And then we're just going to let the left ear release towards the left shoulder. So the shoulders are still relaxed, ear is coming towards the shoulder. Take your left hand and just gently place it on the top of your head so that you're drawing that ear towards that shoulder. You can reach your hand out to the side of your body, the right hand out the side of your body. Kind of deepens that stretch in the right side of the neck a little bit. You can also bring your left hand to the right side of the neck and give it a little massage if that feels good as well. And then we're just slowly going to start to take it over to the other side. So gently releasing the hand, bringing the right ear towards the right shoulder, gently placing that right hand on top of the head. Left fingertips can reach out to the side. As you adjust the position of that left arm, you might feel the stretch a little deeper or less deep in the neck, so you can kind of gauge what feels good for you. And then again, slowly coming back through center, lifting the head, releasing the hand. Good. On the next inhale, the arms are going to reach overhead. And then we're going to bring them to cactus arms. So bending the elbows, reaching the hands out to either side of you, kind of like your little goalpost or a little cactus in the desert. And then we're going to bring the hands in front of the body. So elbows together, palms together. Either, let's see, where are we going with this? Yeah, so you're going to place the right elbow on top of the left, either the backs of the hands together, or give yourself that hug. So you always have those 2 options, backs of the hands or hug, whichever feels more comfortable. Take a breath in as you lift up through the upper body. As you exhale, dive it down, forward fold. So you've done this stretch before. We're getting into the upper shoulders, the upper back, the neck, trying to draw the shoulder blades apart. So imagine as you press either your fingertips or your elbows down towards the mat, that those shoulder blades are kind of stretching apart, opening, creating a little space in the upper back. And then just gently letting that go. On the next inhale, you'll lift it all the way back up, reach the arms overhead, and then right back to those cactus arms. And then right back in front of your face, elbows together, hands together. This time the left elbow comes on top of the right. Same options, backs of the hands together, or hold on to opposite shoulders. As you inhale, the upper body lifts up. As you exhale, one more time, you'll fold it forward. Maybe continuing to keep a bend in the knees, maybe some movement in the hips. Even the neck, it can feel good to kind of shape the neck a little bit. And then on the next inhale, lifting it all the way up, reach the arms overhead. And exhale, hands to the sides of the body. Okay. Go ahead and step your way back to the top of your mat if you weren't there already. We're going to take a breath in, reach the arms up. As you exhale, forward fold, dive it down. We're going to put a little bend in our knees so that your hands can come to the mat, and you're going to step it back to your downward facing dog. So maybe one giant step, maybe a couple little steps until you're back in that downward facing dog. From your down dog, we're rolling it forward into a plank position, tucking that tailbone, engaging that core. Coming down onto your knees. You know this flow by now. Slowly lowering yourself all the way onto your stomach, keeping those elbows hugged nice and tight in towards the body. And then taking a cobra, either baby cobra, lifting your hands up off the mat, or high cobra, pressing the hands into the mat, lifting up a little bit more. And then slowly lowering yourself back down. We're going to make our way right back into a downward facing dog. So your hands are going to press into the mat. You can kind of bend at the knees, tuck the toes, straighten the legs as you come right back to that downward facing dog. And then taking the gaze towards the top of your mat. Again, maybe it's one or two giant steps or a couple smaller steps, making your way back to a forward fold. As you inhale, your hands come to your shins, flattening your back, so a nice stretch in the back of the body, and then exhale, fold a little deeper. On the next inhale, come all the way back to standing, reach the arms overhead, maybe a little back bend here as you gaze up towards your hands, and then exhale, hands come to heart center. Beautiful. Inhale, reach those arms right back up. Exhale, dive it down, forward fold. Another little bend in the knees so that you can bring your hands to the mat. This time, we're just going to step the left foot back. The right foot is going to stay forward so that you're stepping back into a low lunge or a runner's lunge. From here, that back knee is immediately coming down. So you can lower that left knee onto the mat. You can untuck the toes so the top of the left foot is pressing down into the mat. And then we're going to press the hips back and start to straighten that right leg, folding over that right leg. As you start to move here a little bit, hips press forward as you inhale, rebending that knee, lifting up through the upper body. And then as you exhale, press it back again, taking a couple rounds just like that. Using any sort of props here, blocks are a common option, but not the only option. Anything that you have that you can put your hands on will work. It could be books, it could be a chair, just something to bring the ground a little closer to you. And then the next time you come forward, keep those hips pressing forward and down, that knee is bent. We're gonna start to bring our hands to the right knee. Think about pressing that left thigh down towards the earth. That whole left leg is pressing down. That's the idea here, that we're stretching the hip area. The upper body is starting to lift up. Either stay right here with the hands on the knees, or the arms can start to reach up towards the sky. But really focusing on the hip stretch, because a lot of times when we lift the arms up, all of a sudden the hips go back a little bit. If you find that's what's happening, bring the hands back to the knee so you can keep pressing the hip forward. And then we're all going to bring our hands back down to the mat on either side of the right foot. Tuck the left toes as you straighten out that back leg. And then we're going to come back to a forward fold. It's kind of a big step. So you can either take a couple smaller steps to get that left foot up to meet the right, or maybe you just go for it and take that big step. Either way is fine. Once you get to your forward fold, find a little halfway lift for space. Hands come to your shins as you inhale. Flat back. Exhale, fold again. This time the left foot will step back. So same option, giant step, couple baby steps. Either way, get that. Did I say left foot? Left foot is forward, right foot is back. Opposite side as you just did. Sorry. So however you get that back foot to the back of the mat is good. Once it's there, the right knee comes down, untuck the right toes, and on an exhale, the hips press back, and you're going to fold over that left leg. And you can start to move here, pressing the hips forward on an inhale, the upper body lifts, the knee bends. On an exhale, send the hips back, fold over that left leg. Take a couple more rounds just like this. I know I always say it, but it's always true. You don't have to move here. Sometimes you'll find a spot that feels really good and you just want to pause, maybe massage the thigh or the hip and just kind of breathe into it. That's fine as well. I encourage moving because then you're really hitting all the stuff in the hips. But if you find that spot that needs more love, that's where you can hang out. The next time you come forward, we'll start to find our crescent lunge, our Anjaneyasana. So hips are pressing down, hands start to come to that left knee. Same thing as we did on the other side. You can either hang out right here if you feel like this gives you the best hip stretch, or if you think it's fine, or if you feel the same benefits with the arms lifted, go ahead and lift those arms. Either way, take your gaze up towards the sky. Wherever your hands are, you're looking up, you're smiling, you're breathing, all that good stuff. And then you can slowly bring your hands back to frame out that left foot. The right toes are going to tuck as you straighten that back leg. And again, we're going to start to make our way to a forward fold. So maybe a couple smaller steps, maybe a giant step. Eventually that right foot comes up to meet the left foot. Hands come to your shins as you take a little halfway lift. As you exhale, you can fold. And then on the next inhale, lift it all the way back up. And hands come to the sides of the body. Good. So from standing at the top of your mat, we're going to step the left foot back, setting up for a warrior one. So that back foot is about 45 degrees. Both hips are facing forward. If your hips had little headlights on them, your headlights would be facing forward. That's a good analogy. Take a breath in as you lift your arms up. As you exhale, bend that right knee. So left hip is dialing forward, right hip is dialing back so that they're square. The shoulders are relaxed. Pressing down to the outer edge of that left foot. See if you can bend a little more into that right knee. Just being mindful that the knee is staying on top of the ankle and not pushing out in front of it. If that's happening, you might need to widen your stance a little bit. Sometimes we start with a stance that's too narrow, and then you end up going forward too much. So you want to step it back, give yourself that space. From here, that right leg can straighten, and the left foot can step back up to meet the right. Your hands can come to the sides of your body. You kind of shake it out a little bit, and we'll set up to do the same thing on the other side. So that right foot is going to step all the way back this time. It's a wide stance. It's almost the length of your mat. That back foot is at a 45-degree angle. The distance will depend on how long your legs are. But I'm looking at my mat, and it's almost the size of the mat. Take a breath in as the arms lift up. As you exhale, bend into that left knee this time, relaxing the shoulders. Press that right hip forward, dial the left hip back. The goal is that someday this left knee is a 90-degree angle. It does not need to be a 90-degree angle, but we're working on getting it lower. And then let's straighten through that left leg. Hands can come to the sides of the body as you again step it back up to the top of your mat and kind of shake it out a little bit. Maybe you rock the arms from side to side or grab a sip of water if you need one. We're going to let's do a tree pose tonight. So finding a nice firm foundation with the left foot, you can even step off your mat. Sometimes the squishiness of the mat makes balancing poses more challenging, so stepping off the mat is always an option. The right foot is going to come just to the inner ankle. You can even keep your right toes on the mat. Hands are coming to heart center. If you feel like, yep, I got this, let's do more, right foot starts to walk up the leg, either onto the inner shin or the inner thigh. You can use your hand to kind of guide the leg. And then choose what your hands are going to do. They can stay right here. They can come overhead. They can open. Lots of options. Your hand can even be on a wall that's close by, just to kind of give you that extra support or that extra balance. If you touch the foot down, lift it back up and try again. 2 more breaths here. And then slowly starting to draw your hands back to heart center if they weren't already. Gently placing that right foot back down on the mat. Shake out the standing leg. Maybe a little forward fold that can kind of feel good on the lower back sometimes after doing a standing balance like that. And we'll take it over the other side. So right foot is now your standing leg. Left foot starts to come into the right inner ankle. And then maybe that left foot starts to walk up the leg a little bit. Hands can either hang out at heart center or they can start to lift. One little trick is to find something small to look at that's not moving, a light switch or an outlet or something of that size that you can kind of focus on. Two more breaths here. And then again, hands slowly start to come to heart center. Left foot slowly starts to come back down to the mat. As you again shake it all out, dance it out, whatever feels good, as you start to make your way back to the top of your mat. So if you had stepped off your mat, go ahead and get back on the mat. And when you're ready, we'll take a breath in, reach the arms up overhead, exhale, dive it down, forward fold. Putting a little bend in your knees. And then again, left foot is going to step to the back of the mat. So we're coming back to a low lunge, just like we were in before. This time we're going to keep the left hand down where it is. Take a breath in. And as you exhale, the right arm is going to lift up, coming into a twist. So rolling that right shoulder open and back, taking your gaze towards the right hand. And then gently placing that right hand back down on the mat. We're going to come into a wide-legged fold now by starting to walk our hands over to the left side. So bring the right foot to the inside of that, or the right hand to the inside of the right foot. And then just kind of walk your hands to the left side of your mat. And spin your toes to face the side of your mat. And then you're in a wide-legged forward fold. So from here, you're going to take any movement that feels good. You can bend your knees from side to side a little bit. You can, almost like a forward fold where you sort of fold towards the right leg and then fold towards the left leg. Some people like to twist here. Maybe one hand comes down onto the ground and the other hand lifts up. Play around, move, see what feels good for another breath or two. And then we're going to slowly start to walk our hands back towards the right foot. So you're spinning so that the right toes are at the top of your mat again. Your hands are framing out the right foot, coming to the ball of that left foot, so on the left toes. And we'll step it right back up to a forward fold. Left foot comes up to meet the right. Halfway lift for space as your hands come to your shins. Breathe in. As you exhale, fold. And we'll step that right foot back, coming into a low lunge on the left side. Left knee is over the left ankle. On an inhale, the right hand grounds down. On an exhale, the left arm lifts up. Twisting open to the left this time. Roll that shoulder open and back as you look up towards your fingertips. See if you can keep that left knee over the left ankle so it's not kind of flopping off to the side. It's still strong foundation. And gently placing that left hand back down on the mat. And one more time, we're going to find that wide-legged forward fold. So the right foot rounds down. You can start to walk your hands over to the right side of your mat as you turn your toes that both are facing the right side. And again, you're in your wide-legged forward fold, taking any movement that feels good. Could be the same exact thing that you did on the other side. Maybe it's something different at this point. Maybe hold on to opposite elbows or bring your hands really far out in front of you. Maybe you don't do anything. Maybe you just hang here like a little rag doll. And then again, we're going to start to walk our hands back to the top of the mat, framing out that left foot as you spin to the ball of the back foot. This time, instead of coming to a forward fold, you're going to step the front foot back so that you're coming into a downward facing dog. Go ahead and step that front foot back. Find your downward facing dog just for a breath this time. We're not going to be here too long, but you're going to go ahead and lower your knees down back into a tabletop position. Right? Toes can untuck as you maybe make some adjustments so that you have that nice firm foundation with the wrists aligned with the shoulders, the knees, and the hips. And we're going to lift that right leg. Point the right toes behind you. Engaging your core. Once this feels sturdy, left hand is going to lift. Sorry. So opposite arm, opposite leg are reaching in opposite directions. If you're liking this, stay here. You know there's always another option to add on. So you decide either stay here or bend that right knee. Start to reach the left arm back for the right foot. Maybe pressing the foot into the hand, lifting up through the upper body a little bit. And then just gently re-extending the arm and the leg in opposite directions and slowly bringing them back down to the mat. You kind of rock your hips out from side to side. Maybe a little cat and cow if that feels good. And then we'll start to make our way over into the other side. That left leg is going to extend long. Find your balance here first. Left hand is going to be remaining on the mat as you slowly reach the right fingertips forward. Again, opposite hand, opposite leg. Hanging out here if this feels good. Or left knee bends and that right arm starts to reach back. Does not have to have the foot. Reaching for it is great. That's how you grow. That's the stretch right there, reaching for it. At some point, you might grab it. If not today. And then slowly re-extending arm and leg and placing them both back down on the mat. Left knee comes down, right hand comes down. Again, shake the hips out from side to side. Maybe a little bit of movement, cat and cow. Eventually starting to make your way back to a downward facing dog. The toes will tuck, the legs will straighten as the hips go up and back. You're going to look to the top of your mat and take a couple steps, finding a forward fold, top of the mat. Once you come to your forward fold, your hands can come to your shins. Halfway lift for space. Create that length in the back of the body. As you exhale, fold. As you inhale, lift all the way up, reach the arms overhead. Exhale, hands to heart center. Good. We're going to widen our stance a little bit more. So you can just step your feet out to the side, maybe about as wide as your mat is on the narrow side. Maybe a little more, a little less, depending on what feels comfortable for you. A little wider than your hips. Take a breath in and reach the arms up. As you exhale, dive it down, forward fold. And take the left fingertips, place them in front of your left toes. Put a little bend in the left knee to help bring the ground a little closer to you. Take a breath in. And then as you exhale, start to lift that right arm up towards the sky. So we're finding a twist here. Think about creating one straight line from the left hand to the right hand. The left hand is down on the earth. The right fingertips are reaching up towards the sky. Maybe that left hand isn't on the earth. Maybe the left hand is actually on a block or some other prop. That's fine too. If this feels like really far to lean forward with that left hand on the mat, always give yourself that option to place your hand on something. We're going to slowly start to bring that right hand down, placing it in front of the right toes, a little bend in the right knee. So that hand is either on the mat or maybe on that prop you have. And then the left arm starts to lift up. So again, twisting, creating that straight line from left fingertips to right fingertips, rolling that left shoulder open so that you can look up towards the left hand. And then again, gently bringing the left hand down to meet the right. And just kind of shake it out here for a second. Maybe bending your knees, rocking the hips from side to side, or just kind of hanging like a rag doll. On the next inhale, we'll slowly lift it all the way back up, reach the arms overhead, and hands come to heart center. You can start to step the feet closer together at a more normal distance apart, maybe a fist width distance or two. And then we'll take a breath in to reach the arms up overhead. As you exhale, dive it down, forward fold. On the next breath, one more time, we're stepping back to that low lunge. We're doing it a lot tonight. The left foot is going to step back. Right foot is staying forward. That left knee is going to come down again. Untuck those toes. I'm bringing us back into one more Anjaneyasana, just because sometimes when you do it twice in a class, you can come into it a little deeper. So hips are pressing down. Hands are either coming towards that front knee or they're reaching all the way up towards the sky. So see if after warming up a little bit, maybe you're able to come just a little bit further into it. The shoulders are relaxed, the heart, the chest, the throat, all opening, stretching. And then gently bringing your hands back to frame out that right foot. Tuck the back toes as you straighten that back leg. The left foot is going to step back up to meet the right. Halfway lift for space. I know that's a tricky transition. You've been doing it a lot. If you feel like you're struggling with it, or if you feel like you're worn out from it, that makes sense because it's not easy to step forward and backwards like that. So give yourself some grace. On that note, we are going to do the other side. So the right foot is going to step back to the back of your mat now. The right knee comes down, untuck those toes. Same thing as we just did on the other side. Go ahead and lift up. So the left knee is forward. Now the hips are pressing down. Hands are resting either on the knee or up towards the sky. You can be bending backwards a little bit, but I don't want you to bend backwards and compromise the length that you're getting from the upper body, because it's almost more important to think about lifting and opening the heart and the chest rather than just leaning back, because if all you're doing is leaning back, you're almost compressing the spine sometimes. So think length more than back bend. And then slowly bringing your hands back to frame out that left foot. We're going to tuck the back toes, straighten that back leg, and downward facing dog this time. So the left foot is going to step to the back of the mat. Good. Again, I acknowledge that that's a tricky transition, but I'm throwing it at you guys because I am confident you're up for the challenge. So we're going to start to come into our pigeon pose for now. You can either enter it from a down dog, we lift our right leg and we start to bring the right knee forward. If you don't like coming to it from a down dog, you can also come onto your knees first. So either way is totally fine. Wherever you are, you're going to start to bring that right knee behind the right wrist. And then that left leg is going to start to slide back, pressing the top of the left foot into the mat. Think about grounding down to that left foot. And the reason for that is if your foot is at like a crazy angle and your toes are kind of off to the side, you can injure your knee. But if you press the top of the foot into the mat, you kind of protect yourself from that. The right foot is flexing. Your weight is even on both hips. It probably wants to be mostly on the right side, but try to shift a little bit so that the left hip is supporting you as well. Sliding a blanket or a pillow under that right hip can help here. It'll sort of elevate the right side and force you to kind of lean to the left a little bit. Take a breath in, opening up through the front of the body. And if you haven't done so yet, you can start to lower yourself down. Coming onto your elbows is a great starting spot. Maybe that's where you stay. If you're going to stay on your elbows, find something to rest your head on. It could mean bending at the elbows and just kind of resting your chin in your palms. That's a great choice. Or if you have those blocks or pillows or something that you can rest your head on, that's a good choice as well. If you're coming further down, Maybe your head is resting either on the mat or you're stacking your fists and kind of resting your head on your fists. The whole point is that you're not holding your head up, because if you're holding your head up, you're tensing the neck and the shoulders, and that kind of defeats the purpose, because we really want you to relax into this pose and surrender. And I know that's funny because a lot of people are thinking this is not relaxing at all. And you're right, but you can get to that point by letting the muscles begin to relax. And in order to do that, we have to support the head. On the next breath, you'll slowly start to walk the hands back towards the body as you press the upper body up. So depending on how you came into this pose, that's how you're going to get out of it. If you started from your down dog, you'll tuck the back toes, step the right foot back to your down dog. If you were in your tabletop, slide that right knee back to meet the left, coming back to your tabletop. So either option, same thing. And then we'll start to come into it from the other side. So that left knee is going to come behind the left wrist. And just like you did on the other side, take your time setting yourself up here. It's more important that you spend more time setting yourself up so that you're in the pose in a better version than if you just rush into the pose, and then you might not be getting the most out of it. So flexing through that left foot. Sometimes I like to rock my hips from side to side or move my body from side to side. It sort of helps warm up the hips a little bit, settling in. And then whenever you're ready, you'll slowly start to lower the upper body down towards the earth. Again, finding whatever it is you have that allows you to place your head on, hands, blocks, pillows. And then just surrendering here, surrendering muscles that aren't being used in this pose, maybe loosening the jaw or the shoulders, or maybe letting go of some thoughts that are popping up that don't need to be there. Once you notice yourself having those thoughts, you can just kind of let them float on by. You don't have to acknowledge them. You don't have to attach to them or hold on to them. Just let them keep going. Come back to the intention that you set. And then as we start to make our way out of it, again, you'll come back to whatever that pose was that you started in. So your hands will start to walk towards your body. The upper body begins to press up. And then that left foot will slide back either to your tabletop or your downward facing dog. If you are in your down dog, we're all going to make our way, well, into a tabletop and then eventually into a seated position. So basically, wherever you are, you can start to come over into a seated position at the top of your mat or with your feet at the top of your mat. So your feet are nice and flexed. Sit up nice and tall. Take a moment now before we lay back. If you want socks or sweaters or water, anything like that, that might be good to have before we take it down for the rest of class. So once you're ready, sitting up nice and tall, extending the arms out long in front of you, and then one vertebrae at a time, go ahead and lower yourself all the way down onto the mat. Full body stretch, just like we did at the beginning of class with the arms overhead. Deep breath in. And then as you exhale, hands can come to the sides of the body. We're going to bend our knees, bringing our feet to the base of our spine. And setting up for a bridge pose. So when you're ready, you're going to take a breath in and imagine your spine is just peeling off the mat, starting with the hips. Begin to press the hips up to the sky, peeling that spine up. Your hands are either going to continue to press into the mat or the shoulders slide under as you interlace your hands under your tailbone. The chin is tucking into the chest as those hips press up and back. And just think about all the time you spent today leaning forward when you were looking at your phone or your computer or you were eating. I'm sure you spent a lot of time leaning forward today. I know I did. So these few moments, these few breaths are your chance to kind of reverse all of that and let the spine have a couple moments bending in the opposite direction. So good for it. And then slowly, one vertebrae at a time, we'll start to lower that spine all the way back down onto the mat. Once your tailbone touches, your knees are just going to rock from side to side as deep as it feels comfortable. It can be just a little bit, or it can be almost touching the ground. From here, we are going to make our way into an inversion. Options are always either to use the wall and just extend your legs up the wall, or start to reach your feet up towards the sky without that wall. So essentially, you're in the same shape. You're just using a wall, or you're not using a wall. The wall is going to make it a little more restorative, a little more active if you're not using the wall. If you don't have the wall, your hands can either be behind the thighs and holding them up a little bit, or you can sit on your hands. That can kind of put the tailbone at a more comfortable angle. So you choose where you're going with this tonight. And it can be different every night. Some nights you might say, I need something a little more active. So you're going to go without the wall. Other nights, a little more restorative, a little more relaxing to just use that wall. Either way, we'll be here for about 5 to 7 more breaths. So maybe your eyes start to close here. Maybe start to pay attention to your breath again, slowing it down a little bit as you feel the spine pressing down into the earth. For those of you on the wall, if that's any of you, you're probably feeling good. You probably don't need to come out of it yet. You can stay there for the rest of the class. It's a great way to do Shavasana. For those of you not using a wall, your legs are probably burning a little bit by now. So you can slowly start to draw your knees back in towards you. Wrapping your arms around your legs. If you're by the wall, you can come out of it too. You don't have to stay there. But if it feels good, you can stay there. Just kind of giving yourself a little hug, rocking from side to side or circling the knees. Maybe lifting the head up towards the knees a little bit, making a little ball shape with the body. And then gently placing your head back down on the mat. We're going to extend the arms out to either side of you, nice and wide, as the knees begin to release over to the right side as we start to twist it out before we finish up our practice tonight. So the shoulders are pressing down and towards the mat, especially the left shoulder. That left shoulder wants to lift up a bit. Let's see if you can draw the left shoulder down. From there, let everything else just kind of be in a position that feels comfortable for you. So what I mean by that is sometimes I like my arms in that cactus shape. So bending my elbows. Sometimes I have them straight. Sometimes maybe they're on your stomach. Your head can be up towards the ceiling, or you can look to the left. Your knees you can cross your legs. One leg can cross over the other. Sometimes I'll give you a nice little deeper stretch in the hips. Sometimes it doesn't feel good. So play around with some options. Find the twist that feels good for you. And then we'll slowly start to twist it over to the other side. So the knees begin to come back through center and then all the way over to the left as you again settle into whatever version of this twist feels comfortable for you tonight. And maybe you're doing the same thing you did on the other side. Maybe something a little different feels good here. You can bring the left hand to the top of the right thigh. You can start to close your eyes at this point if that feels comfortable for you. And then again, just beginning to draw the knees back through center. The feet can be on the earth here as we start to make our way into our final pose. So you get to decide what that's going to be. If there's anything you need before your final pose, as always, do that. If it's a stretch, if it's clothing or a blanket, whatever it is that you need to feel really comfortable in your Shavasana, go ahead and do those things. And then start to make your way into your final pose. Maybe it's as simple as extending your legs and just lying on your back flat. Or maybe there's another pose that feels more comfortable. Some people like to be on their side. Some people like to sit up. Some people bend their knees. See what feels good for you. And then if you haven't done so already, you can close the eyes. You can start to let your breath return to a more normal rhythm that you're not paying attention to, you're not controlling, you're just letting it move freely through you. You're allowing yourself to start to become heavy, visualizing that you're just kind of melting into your mat, dissolving into the mat, becoming one with the mat, floating on top of the mat. All these visuals, whichever one you like, focus on that one. You allow yourself to just be here for a couple more moments with nothing to do, but focus on your little rectangular universe, what's going on right now, right here in your body, letting go of everything else in Shavasana. Slowly starting to deepen your breath. Taking your time as you make tiny little movements with the fingers and the toes, ankles and the wrists. Eventually moving into a bigger stretch, maybe a full body stretch or bending the knees, whatever feels good for you. If you're on your back and it feels comfortable, you can turn over onto your side with the head resting on the arm and the knees bent. Let's take these last few moments here to let all of those poses you offered, all of those breaths you took, all of those good intentions that you set, let all of that good energy start to settle right there in the center of your body. Just imagine all of it kind of settling in right in your heart. So that when you get up off your mat in a couple of moments and go back out into the rest of your day, the week, the weekend, you have all of that right inside of you in your tool belt, and you can tap into it whenever you need. If your day gets a little crazy or hectic or anything, you have that extra support right there inside of you. Whenever you're ready, you can slowly start to make your way all the way back up to a seated position, bringing your hands to heart center. Eyes can stay closed. So grateful for you for yet again joining me on a Thursday evening, bringing your energy and your light and sharing it with us all over the place virtually. Hope you have the most beautiful evening and a beautiful week ahead. Until I see you next time, namaste. Have a great night, everyone.